Welcome to Ken's Corner. This is another how-to video, okay? What this how-to video is going to be about checking piston valve clearance, okay? This is mainly how I'm checking piston valve clearance on the LS motor in particular, okay? So, what do you need as in tools-wise? You need to check piston valve clearance, okay? At the bare minimum, you're going to need a magnetic base to hold your dial indicator. Also, if you have a extension rod for your dial indicator, it'd be a really good thing to have as well, because it's just going to make setting up things a lot easier down the road. Now, the optional is the degree wheel. You really don't have to have it, but it makes things a lot nicer, because you know, as you're getting close to those valve events, typically it's about 8 degrees before and 8 degrees after top dead center. Depends if you're checking the exhaust or intake valve. You know you're getting close to it, and then you got a good indication how close your piston is going to be to the valve. So anyway, that's the bare minimum equipment you need, and go from there. What we're going to do, I'm going to show you how to find top dead center. Then once you find top dead center, we're going to make sure it's set on 0. Now, I have to expedite this process. I went ahead and got the wheel set on. I'm tightened up and all that good aspect, and I have already found top dead center, but these are the steps that you would have to do as well, okay? So anyway, to get things started, go ahead and get your magnetic base set up, get your dial indicator, and get your extension rod setting on your piston. And once you got all that stuff set up, then all you have to do is start turning your degree wheel. And what we're going to do, we're going to watch this as the needle comes around. The needle's just going to stop, okay? And that's where the piston just came up and stopped. Now, there's a little bit of movement, if none, or hardly any movement is going to occur for about a degree, if even that. So the piston's kind of going to come up here and just hang just so slightly, then it'll start coming down. But it's so minute, you can see it on the dial indicator, and I'll show you what I'm referring to. But anyway, so what we're going to do is kind of split that difference between where the piston comes up, kind of hangs there a little bit, and comes down. So anyway, let me get the camera set up closer to the dial indicator, and I'll show you what I mean about it's hanging and where it's sitting on the degree wheel. It's about a degree, or even a half a degree. It's so minute, it's not even, I don't know if it's even worth it to do this, but I thought it'd be a cool way to show you what it's actually doing. So let me get the camera a little bit closer. I might have to hold it and go from there. So hang on a second. What you see here, I have my degree, or I have the degree wheel set up, okay, showing about, I don't know, 12 degrees before top dead center, okay. Then I got my dial indicator, and what I'm going to do, or what you should see, as I get ready to turn the crank, you're going to see the dial indicator start to move, okay, and that's basically because the piston's coming up, okay. So as the piston comes up, you'll see it sees it gets close to 0 there, okay. You can see it somewhat stop right there. It stopped, okay. It's not moving anymore, okay. If I come around here, you'll see it's not quite there at 0. It's just like I mean, it's so close to 0, it's not even funny, right? So all I'm going to do, I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on the crank, and you're going to see it's not going to be moving hardly at all, okay. So here I go. I'm going to add a little bit of pressure to it. The crank's turning, and it just barely started to move. I mean, it was so minute, but you can come over a degree wheel over here, you can see the needle's back off 0, okay. And that's what I mean about where the piston's kind of just sits there and hangs. It is so small, it's not even probably worth to even discuss about this, but I wanted you to be aware that it's top dead center is kind of between those two. You just got to take your best guess. Most times, once it comes up and levels out to 0, just mark that as top dead center, and that'll get you pretty darn close what you need. So anyway, let's get started. Once we got the top dead center set up, which we did, so I'm perfectly happy how it's set up. What we're going to do next, I'm going to get the heads put on, and we're going to find out where set up Zero Lash on the motor, or on the heads, sorry. So let's get started. There's a few other items that you are definitely going to have, okay? What you're definitely going to have, you're going to have some lightweight springs on here. These springs do not have to be strong at all. All they're really doing is keeping the valve open and something to attach a retainer to. I think I got these springs like an Ace Hardware or something like that. I forgot what they're even called. I just went in there And as long as they fit the diameter of your seal, you're good to go. You just want something where, you know, it bounces back and forth fairly easy, okay? The other thing that you're definitely going to need is a push rod length checker, okay? Here it is. It's in my pocket. Anyway, this is from Comp Cams. It's part number 7702. But anyway, you are definitely going to need one of these because this is the only way that you're going to have to figure out or how you're going to set zero lash. Without one of these, it's almost impossible to figure out what zero lash is going to be. So with that, let's go ahead and find zero lash, and I'll show you how to use this tool. Okay, to get started, we need to adjust this tool out where we think what the push rod length is going to be, okay? And not as what how much minus the preload, okay? Typically with LS motors, you figure out zero lash, you add about 50 to 75 thousandths, depends on your lifters, but typically you add about 50 thousandths of preload. So whatever you measure your push rod, you add 50 thousandths, and that's how long your push rod is. But for zero lash, we just need to know how long it's going to be. In this motor, I think it's about 11 turns out. So this push rod is 6.8 inches, okay? And each turn is worth 50, so they have little marks on it. So all I'm going to do is turn it out about 11 turns. We're going to shove it in there, and we're going to see if we got zero lash set up or not. But before we can get the zero lash figured out, there's one other thing you have to do. You have to make sure that the lifter is on the base circle of the cam. And how do you determine that? You put two push rods down into the hole, okay? And what we're going to use, what they call the EOIC method. So basically, when the exhaust opens, you want to check the intake, or you're able to set the zero lash intake. Versus if the intake closes with the IC method, when the intake about to close, you want to check the zero lash on the exhaust. That's when you can set it up. So I know that might sound what's confusing, but let's go ahead and get started with this process. Okay, what I'm going to do next, I'm going to lengthen the adjustable push rod. Right now I've lengthened it out about 11 turns. That's just a guess, but if it's not right, it's easy to make adjustments. So once you figure out what the length is, go ahead and stick it in the hole here, okay? So next, what you're going to do is go ahead and add your rocker arm on top, okay? What you go ahead and do is tighten that down, okay? Go ahead and get it good snug, and if you feel it loose, you're not there. So it's ticking away here, so what we're going to have to do is take it back out, okay? Okay, and all we're going to do is lengthen it just a little bit. Okay, we'll just give it a little turn. Let's just shove it back down the hole there. Okay, and put your rocker arm back on. Doesn't really move. Okay, so we're pretty good there. Now, what you want to watch out for is have too much of a length on it. And if you have too much of length, what will happen, you'll start pushing down on your valve. You don't want that to happen. You want it where it's just a little bit loose enough. You know, you can hear this tick so slightly, if any, no tick. But ultimately, you do not want to push the valve down whatsoever. You start pushing the valve down, it's going to throw your measurement all off. You just want to sit there where you can kind of move the rocker up and down, and hardly moves at all. So once you get there, believe it or not, that is zero lash, okay? So what we're getting ready to do next, now we're going to check how much clearance is between the piston and the valve. So let me get my dial indicator set up here, and I'll show you exactly how to set it up and show you how much piston valve clearance we have on the intake. So that'll be next. Next, we have to set up your dial indicator, okay? What this requires is a magnetic base. What I did, I went ahead and found a piece of angle steel here and attached it to the side of the head. So the magnetic base have a good platform to sit on, okay? Then, from there, it's just a matter of setting up the angles to get it correct. As you can tell, where this rod is, it's kind of in line about the same angle as the valve, okay? The other measurement or angle you have to get to is make sure it's perpendicular, you know, up and down with the valve. So let me kind of show you that with the camera. Take the camera off here. Okay, as you can tell, it's straight up and down with the valve here. Okay, then around here you can see that the angle is kind of in line with the valve. Okay, so you're trying to get that as close as you can. Okay, then the other thing you have to make sure of is how much engagement this rod is. As you can tell, it's sitting on about a 6 right now. So the dial indicator can travel pretty far. You can see how much I can push down on it. It's going up and down. Okay, so once you feel confident that you got good travel on your intake, everything's set up, the next task would be is go ahead and start cranking over the motor, and as it gets closer to that valve event, you will be able to check to see how much clearance we have. Okay, and this is where the degree wheel comes in pretty handy, because you can tell as you're getting closer to that valve event or top dead center of the piston, you know, start checking for it. So with that, let me get the camera kind of reset up here so you can kind of see the degree wheel, the valve event as it gets ready to happen, and also hopefully you can see the indicator as well. So let me get the camera pushed back up here and get started. So what I'm going to ready to do is go ahead and rotate it up, or rotate the wheel, and then as we come close to the top dead center of this piston, as it gets within the 10 degree, 12 degree, I'll probably start testing how much clearance we have. Then I think the closest it's going to be is after top dead center, about 8 degrees after. So we'll probably do a 10 or 12 degree before and after top dead center to get these numbers. So for the intake, let's go ahead and get started, and I'll stop it at 12 and we'll do a quick little measurement. Okay, we're about 12 degrees there. What I like to do is kind of set my dial indicator on 0, and just to see how close I am, I'll push down on the rocker arm. I won't push down on the valve, but right there on the rocker arm, the end, to see some numbers here. Okay, so huge clearance. It's not even worth mentioning how much we have. So I know I'm still far away. So let's go ahead and make this about 6 degrees before top dead center. Okay, kind of reset the dial indicator back to 0. Okay, getting tighter. It's still way off. I mean, we're still got 300ths, but anyway. So let's get 2 degrees before top dead center. See what that is. Okay, there we go. That's 230 right there. Still got plenty of clearance. Now we're at 0 right now. Okay, push it back to 0. Make sure it what you want to do is make sure it repeats back to 0 as you push down on it. Okay, so right now I'm at 220. Yep, 220, 219. So that's at 0. Now I'm going to move it 2 more degrees. Okay, and as you get closer to that 8 degree mark, I'm going to slow down, make it do every 1 degree. Okay, just to make sure. Okay, so I'm at 111 there, or 211, sorry. Let's go ahead and move it. I'll go 2 degrees on that one. So I'm at 4 degrees past top dead center. Okay, we'll check it. So I'm at 2, yeah, I'm at 203, 24, 23, 203, 204. I'm at 4. Now I'm just going to move it 1 degree, and you'll see how much it starts to change. Okay, I'm at almost 200. It's going back about where it left off. Yep, 200. Okay. Now I'll be at 8 degrees here. Okay, just under 200, probably like 199. Yep, about 199. I'm at 8, so I'm gonna move it 1 more degree. Okay, it's pretty close to what, 9 degrees. So I'm at 199. So about the same. Okay, I'm at 6, 7. I'm sorry, that was 7. Okay, here's 8 degrees. It's about the closest it's gonna get right here. Okay, that's about 198. Okay. Okay, here's 9 degrees. $199. Make sure it's at 0. Yeah, that's $199. Now we'll go up to 10. Okay. Then you do that again, and it's getting bigger. It's right at 200 or 201. So you can see on this, for the intake, the valve event happened about 8 degrees after top dead center. That's pretty typical what you'll see where it's the closest at. So this is why using the degree wheel is so important, so you can see how close you get to these valve events. And as you get closer, it doesn't take too much movement to move it to make that degree or that closeness so that piston and valve comes really close. That's why sometimes, even if you don't set top dead center on, just throw the degree wheel up there just to keep track of your marks or how many degrees you're turning it. That's better than nothing. So anyway, really good advice there. So for this one, for this head, I have 0.2 or 199 clearance on the intake. It's a huge amount of clearance. No problem whatsoever running this cam and all this stuff. The reason why we have probably so much clearance is I did a fly cut on these pistons and I opened it up because I have a different set of heads and it's been shaved down a little bit. So with that, things are pretty huge on this. So that's the reason why. So if you want to see that video of how I fly cut the pistons, just click up here in the link. It'll show you what I actually did, or how you fly cut pistons. So anyway, next test or check, I'm going to do the exhaust. Very similar how the intake, use the EOIC method, set all that up, and we do the exhaust. The exhaust we'll do a little bit quicker here, but this shows you a good idea how you set up piston and valve, or how to check piston and valve clearance, zero lash, and you know, all that stuff. So anyway, let me check the exhaust here real quick, and we'll get a close-in statement here and go from there. Like I said, to get the zero lash set up for exhaust, you all same way, is that when the intake about to close, we're going to check the lash for the exhaust. So real quickly here, all I'm going to do, the intake's coming up, okay, and as soon as the intake's about to close, get ready to close. Like here, I felt it going down. Now we can adjust or check the zero lash on the exhaust. I kept the rod length the same length, so hopefully everything matches up here and we don't have to move the rocker arm again. So check for lash. It's clicking just a little bit. So all we're going to do here real quickly is we'll make a quick little adjustment on that push rod. We'll just lengthen it up just a little bit. It could have got turned when I took it out. So stuck it back in the hole. And now, I don't know if you can see that or not. I think I got too long. You can see the exhaust is actually going up and down, the valve is. So definitely got too much length on the push rod. Just take it back out and we'll just shorten up just ever so slightly. Okay. And hopefully I turned it enough to make it where it's not going to move. Up. And tighten it up. Yep. Up and down, up and down, up and down. There's no movement. So we're ready now to check piston valve clearance on the exhaust. So let me get all that set up here real quickly, and I'll show you what that number comes out to be. Okay, we're going to check the exhaust piston valve clearance. I kind of got it pretty close to where it's going to be at. So first I'm at 14 degrees before top dead center, and we'll check that real quick. And we're sitting at about 159. So I'm going to move it another couple degrees at 12 degrees. About 155. Move another degree. That's under 155, 154. Okay. Now I'm at 10. And 153. I think that's pretty close to 9. 153. And we're about 8 degrees there. It's 155. So, so about 153 is the closest that the exhaust is on this one. So to give you some idea of what we're looking at for the piston valve clearance on this one. So 153 clearance on this one. Still ample clearance because we fly cut them and all that stuff. That's why we have so much clearance on these. Hopefully you got some good idea of how to check piston valve clearance, the steps that you need to go through, and how critical it is to get the Zero Lash set up. If you get the Zero Lash set up, it will affect your piston to valve clearance in a big way. You don't want that to happen at all. So anyway, so hopefully you got a good understanding how to check the piston to valve clearance, how to set up Zero Lash, how to set the dial indicator, all that good methods. This is how I set it up, and how I checked all my LOS setups, the clearance and all that stuff. So hopefully you can do the same thing. So with that, I'm going to call it wraps on this video. And if you do like what you see, go ahead and hit that like button, and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Crap.